All right, so I'm going to open with a poem, then I'm going to read some stuff from my book, which I hope you'll enjoy because I haven't really written any new material in terms of like poetry and stuff like that in a while because I've not really been performing because I'm now, you know, re-establishing myself as an author, you know, trying to become serious as I'm moving on my way to my 40s, trying to, you know, get ready to be a 40-year-old woman in 3 years and say, yeah, I'm an author now, I can be 40. I don't know, like, guys seem to be able to be rappers forever. I've not really seen that many female rappers, like, 40 and that, still rocking their new era caps and that. I don't really know if I can pull it off at that age. I'm kind of trying to mature past that style and stuff. All right, so I'm going to open with this poem. I write poetry and spit bars to deal with the pain, yet I'm left with emotional scars. They're part of me priceless, they're works of art. Paintings of a survivor for the hard times I never thought I'd get past. Now I'm standing here glowing like a bright star, healing with the plasters on my heart. When my mum did depart, I thought it was over, out went my spark, turned on the lights, but I've lived in the dark. I self-medicated to escape self-hatred. I grew up in a cracked-out council estate. At times it was grim. Against the odds I've been fighting. But I had to believe that I chose my lessons and it's my destiny. These lessons cut deep. I did bleed red hot blood from my soul. Humbled my spirit, regaining control. Searching for a light to follow with a broken heart on road. Writing was my spark, expression through my art. A channel to understand the past, to understand the part in the bigger picture. Karma playing out as old as ancient scriptures. I walked through the bed of roses. I got stung by the thorns, and when they healed, I smelt the scent through my nose. It was sweet. I kicked back and I looked at the city. So many trapped in cages, but they thinking that they're roaming free. The dark and the light of battle, we're left with disease, dis-ease. Spiritual slaves to the greedy. Work 9 to 5, then home to watch TV? Nah! I didn't go through my pain for no reason. My suffering inspired passion, and I will make a difference. My soul speaks, my soul sings, my soul brings messages through music to say that we can achieve anything because we are alchemists and magicians. We hold the power. Take control because there's time, because it's ours. United we make the stand because the change is inside every one of us, child, woman and man. Each one, teach one, love and freedom. Victory over challenges, step into the vision. Kings and queens, we got to unite our system. Warriors of light, we got to fight the system. Thank you. So it's also like a sort of like double honour to be here. You lot may not know, I actually grew up down the road there in Camden. My estate was Castle Haven. And my mum used to come to this pub. This woman called Sue used to run this pub. My mum used to come here quite a lot. So I used to come as a kid. I kind of grew up in pubs and stuff like that. So, you know, no wonder I thought drugs and alcohol was normal. Because it was normal to me, innit? That was normal. That's what adults do. So that's what I do. I'm going to learn from the adults around me. And then when I became an adult, I was like, these fucking people is weird, man. This shit ain't really working for me. I need to learn some other behaviours. So I had to switch up some shit. You know what I mean? Even though I come to pubs and that, but to do poetry and be serious and be an author and that kind of stuff. All right. I've never really been a mic stand kind of person, but being an author is changing that, you know, because you have to hold the book with two hands. All right, so I'm going to share something. I'm going to share with you a little bit about the process of writing the book, really. So this is my memoir at the tender age of 37. And yeah, I've lived quite a full life, I would say. I've had a lot of different experiences, and this book is written in a non-linear format. So the way that I thought about it was I saw that like memories are like snapshots and flashes that come in and out, and the way that we remember life is not like from 1 year old, I had a nappy, then I learned to do 2 steps. And like, I don't remember my life like that. And when I'm sharing who I am with other people, I don't share it in this like chronological order. I share it in this really bitty, different kind of way. And I felt like the moments of significance are these really significant moments that tie into my identity and who I see myself as and how I identify myself as a person. So these big life events, and I started writing it like 10 years ago. When I was kind of homeless, I swear I was like, dealing with homelessness tonight is interesting because I was like homeless for like a good 30 years. I lived here and there, but until I got my flat as a 30-year-old, I'd never had a real home before. So that was an interesting experience as well. And writing the book and going through some of the experiences, like I wrote down certain traumas and then literally I'd be like, wow, that was fine. That was so easy to write about that. 2 days later, I'll be having a fever. I'll be in my bed like shaking, sweats, aches all over my body. So I had like, I think 3 fevers in 3 months last year. The year before finishing off this book. And this year I haven't had a fever at all. So it's kind of interesting, the physical experience that the body goes through as well. So as this event is featuring on mental health and homelessness, I'm going to share something about my brother who is schizophrenic. And I wrote this piece about him about 10 years ago, and it's in my book. And my brother's called Ewan, and he's a very beautiful soul. He screams in the night, telling me with absolute conviction that the crackheads upstairs were doing voodoo on him. He was only 17 years old. There was a crack house above my dad's flat, which would regularly get raided and have junkies jumping out into the garden out the window. These people couldn't give a shit. They were too busy selling the pussy of some young addict for their next hit, chasing their tails to be putting voodoo on anyone. Yet he wouldn't believe me when I tried to explain this to him. His big blue eyes looked into mine. He was so lost. I tried to shut off the love in my heart that I had for him since I felt him grow inside our mother's tummy, to stop the pain of losing him as he loses touch with reality a little more every day. Such a beautiful, sensitive soul. He feels the world more than most. The council estate upbringing weren't the best environment for nourishing him. He was like a wild daisy living in a bed of nettles. Daily getting stung by all around him, bullied in primary school, tortured in secondary school, and he was a target in the ends. Living on the estate was like a constant cage fight. Most young men growing up without fathers in overcrowded areas, they had to punch their way to get in respect. My brother would be the punch bag that took the blow when a boy had to prove he could fight. My brother would stand there, get punched in the face, then run home to his PlayStation and escape into a world where he held the controls. He was a lab rat, fed ecstasy at 12 years old at a squat party by one of our mum's so-called friends. He smoked cannabis every day and was given all kind of weird drugs by the boys on the estate. One time, the boys took him to the woods outside London. They left him at some boy's house and fed him magic mushrooms for days. We would shout out the balconies to the boys, asking when he was coming home. But our mum was the estate drunk and she never got an answer. Our family was a joke to them. My brother was an outcast and he was trying to fit in, thinking he was part of the gang and not really clocking on to the fact that they were just taking a piss out of him. He was getting caught for all kind of stupid crimes with the boys from Castle Haven, where we grew up. He was on last chance probation, which scared me because prison would have probably killed him. Voices crept into the fragments of his mind, and with no parents to hold him in our reality, the drugs emphasized all his illusions. He was diagnosed as a schizophrenic, age 17. Was it conditioning? Was it drug-induced? Or will he have always had this illness? I battle with this daily because I just wanted to remember him when he was well and he didn't function on government pills. He was sectioned and institutionalized at the Florence Nightingale Adolescent Unit, which was mainly for rich teenagers who were trying to kill themselves. A year of him living there, he was still emotionally scarred to the core. When he was released from hospital, social services, brilliant social services, released him into a lion's den. It was a hostel in Kentish Town, living with all the boys from the estate who had bullied him. Boys whose lives had led them to living in a hostel for one reason or another, straight from a year in hospital to a hostel with the boys who had tormented him every day his whole life. It was like the unexpected twist in a Stephen King novel, a never-ending nightmare. He weren't given any skills or any support, but he was given a bag of prescription pills and doctor's appointments. So angry with the system, he left the hostel with red-hot rage burning through his chest. He moved into our dad's one-bedroom place, sleeping on a mattress on the floor in the living room. No room for himself. The drugs changed his body out of shape beyond all recognition. He wasn't the skinny boy who could eat what he wanted. He was now, his belly ballooned and his eyes became distant, an outward sign of his troubles. What was supposed to be a few years living with our dad to get his feet off the ground turned into 8 years. My brother and my dad finally got a bigger place to live, and he got into college studying as a chef. He was doing really well. Thinking the pills were no longer necessary, he stopped taking them. College finished, he had nothing to do with his time. This, coupled with the fact he had stopped taking his pills, meant the demon voices occupied his mind once again. And as the leaves began to fall from the trees, his sanity fell from his mind. He became overly aggressive, wide-eyed. He almost seemed possessed. He started on everyone as if getting revenge for the days on the estate when he couldn't stick up for himself, and not understanding that now that we're in our mid-20s and that we earned respect in different ways. It was as though he'd just woken up from being a teenager and his mind hasn't moved forward, stuck in a mental time warp. He came to stay with me. He would pace the house at night, muttering to himself. I'd hear him at the knife drawer. It was so scary. He weren't himself. One time I asked him a simple question, and he shouted at me in a demonic voice that I didn't recognize, saying he was going to throw me through the ceiling. I was so terrified, I ran from the house, a constant stream of tears burning my cheeks, a pain in my chest knowing he'd be back in hospital in the next few hours. He went back to my dad's. The next day, 8 riot police stormed into my dad's place with shields, headgeared a lot. My brother left the house, his head hung down, all the neighbours watching. Once again into the back of the meat wagon, locked up in a psychiatric unit, a danger to himself and others. The last time he had got banged up was 6 years before that. He spent Christmas at the Joshua Ward in King's Cross. It was horrific seeing him there. My heart shattered as I witnessed him pacing around the big white room with other disturbed men. We played a game of pool, but he struggled with concentration. I had to turn my face to hide my tears and force myself to keep them inside so I could present myself as the strong sister that he needed to see on that day. He's still ill today, and I can only hope and believe that he can pull himself through this. He's such a precious soul. I love him, and I can feel his pain. I want a magic wand to heal his mind. I wish that he could find happiness, but I have to stay strong and enjoy life like I have learnt to. But at the moment, I mourn for my brother, praying that he will find a way back to peace of mind. Wow. Thank you. So yeah, it's kind of a deep one. And after I wrote this book, I put it out and stuff and had a big book launch, and it was really fun. And then I kind of wanted to be like, cool, I've done that now. Let's throw that away and make sure no one reads it, or I ever have to read from any of it again or experience any part of myself in that format. And I kind of was like, I'm a Buddhist and I chant, so I was really chanting about it and trying to understand why was I feeling that way about my life and my stories. And I realized that there's so much shame attached to mental health, to drug abuse, I had a very traumatic childhood, and there's a lot of like shame attached to these things. And I thought, this shame isn't even mine. Whose shame am I taking on? This is like a collective consciousness. I'm an elevated soul. I'm not involved. So, the journey for me is really standing into the power of the fullness of this story and really owning all of it. And it's funny because I think that life is very metaphorical. My publisher is called Own It. And I've been struggling to own my own life and own story. All right, life, could you have any more symbols for me? Pretty deep, right? All right, so I'm going to read something else. I'm going to read a bit of this one, not the full thing, because I've only got 20 minutes and that was kind of long. So this is about when I moved to my hostel. So when I moved out of my home, I moved to a hostel in King's Cross that I used to live at. So I was kind of always homeless, as I was saying, because my home wasn't really a home growing up. It was a bit mad. And then all through my 20s, I lived here, there, and everywhere. And then I finally got a council flat. When my mum died, I took over her tenancy and downsized her flat. And since then, my life has like dramatically improved, because having a base is like one of the most important things in the world. It's like really hard to know where you're going, especially when both your parents are like crackheads and alcoholics, and there's no home to go back to, and there's nothing to root life into. But I feel really fortunate and really grateful for all these experiences. Like, I don't harbor any sad feelings or anything, and I feel really honored to be able to be here with you guys and share so honestly. So thank you so much for holding that space. I really appreciate you. All right, so let's open up Red Jen. Red Jen was my mentor. I met this woman when I was on my estate, and she was in a band called the Bell Stars in the 80s, and I'd started running youth projects, and she found out about me, and she started giving me some money to do some projects and took me on her company, which was called S-Team, helping young people gain self-esteem and confidence through the arts. And from her, I got my first 5,000 funding from the Prince's Trust. This was while I lived in a crackheads hostel in King's Cross, and managed to get a distinction from college that year as well in drama. So this is why I work with young people, because I really know the power of a mentor. I really know what the power of having someone positive in your life. And I was like searching for a positive woman, like a woman I could look up to and be like, wow, that's who I can become. And she was the first survivor I'd met. She was the first person I'd met who had lived a harsh life, but survived and thrived and shone. And I was like, yes, she can do it. I can do it too. There's light. So thank you, Jen. All right. So this is my hostel in King's Cross, and I'm just going to read part of it. The day Red Jen helped me move into my hostel, I sat alone on my single bed in my cold room, and I felt so alone, scared, and wondered what this next chapter would bring. Off a street of King's Cross, homeless drug addicts and street drinkers lined the pathway to my road. All dirty faces, smelling but happy in the buzz of the city. A pack, a little tribe, living outside KFC, opposite McDonald's. None of the other fancy cafes were there in them days. This was King's Cross while it was still rough, rugged and dirty. There was a woman, almost a skeleton. Her cheeks were hollow, hair patchy and thin, scraped back into a ponytail. Makeup on her face, the last strand of dignity pasted onto her hollow complexion. Beige to cover the volcanoes on her face from where she had picked her skin when she got high. Businessmen from the city rode her in alleyways behind the hostel. Well, I suppose she could have a hit to erase the pain after the encounters. I would carry these stories with me to the building. Down the stairs to the bottom floor, all the windows were fenced shut, so the women couldn't come and go as they pleased. I had no key to the front door. I would ring the bell and be let through the first door that had a glass wall which looked to the office. You sign your name on your board, then you're buzzed into the hostel. It felt so disgusting having staff to see every entry and exit that I made. There was little privacy, and the fact there were vulnerable women there was evidenced by the large number of staff. The floors were blue lino and shiny, the dirt lit up on underneath the fluorescent tube lighting. The TV room was where people could smoke and always had a few people in there. I would sit with a roll-up, chatting with the women, getting to know the way that things ran round there. They shared white cider. I smoked my roll-up, knowing I didn't want to fall into that trap because I had already experienced the destruction that drink wreaks with my mom. My first room was a box room, and there was blood splatters on the walls that welcomed me with sharp bins in the toilet and nasty washing areas. It was to be my home, my stable place. I felt homeless with a roof over my head. All the women were different there, from diverse backgrounds, and there was no cooking facilities in our rooms. Most women's bodies here didn't run on food anyway. I heard stories from some of the women, even though we never spoke. There was one, I think her name was Catherine. She was big, not massive, but with a big round that suits a woman. Her long grey hair flowed over her black dress tops and long skirts, crystals and brooches on her clothes. She must have been like 45. I saw her as a witch, a Wicca woman. In hindsight, I realised she must have been a woman lost in mental health problems. But in them days, the dirty floors and walls around me, my mind made her into a much more unusual character. I imagined her in her room, and that her room had broomsticks and Ouija boards and maybe a cauldron. I wanted to knock on her door one day when I was high on magic mushrooms. But when I came down, I didn't want to open the door to that friendship. My next door neighbour was a Jamaican. We got on for the first few days I was there, but then we didn't because I weren't going to be part of the cider massive or the collective dole check. My doll was for getting to college. Her room was like a corridor. It was so small with a little window. I guess she had been to prison because she was so cozy in that tiny space. She would get depressed and she would shout, "Fucking white bitch," for hours. I didn't get scared because there was a wall between us. I had a few friends. One woman downstairs, Cheryl, was a lovely older woman, around 58 years old, not too hard on the booze. Telly was a comforter for her. She was the mom of the hostel. You could go to her room and chill out, roll a rollie, have a little drink. We caught jokes in that room. A little family was forming. Our little sister of the group, Lacey, was a Scottish woman under 5 foot. She self-harmed till her arms were mutilated. She had a chronic drug addiction. We were chilling in Cheryl's room one evening and Lacey was in a bad way. She had been raped the night before. Lacey and a couple of girls ran a con, getting the guys to a dark spot and running off with the dough. She was unlucky that night. The guy made sure he got his product first advertised. Her pain was immense, saturating the room from her pores. I liked her, a feisty little woman, but she was fighting the wrong battle. Debbie was a crack addict, also into the brown and drink. She was a mixed-race woman with curly hair tied back, quite attractive. She was loud and bubbly, but I always only saw her on her up days. She also sold her body and walked up and down York Way, asking for pounds from passers-by. She died while we were there. She got run over. When I heard, I had a vision of an angel being freed from beneath the car. I knew that she had had enough. No more of walking up and down York Way, begging away her life force. Sarah lived above me. Her vibrant energy shone through her addictions. She was real, not a liar or two-faced. Her motherly nature made her friends in the hostel. I wished more for her than she wished for herself. She tried to hold on to reality, but losing her grip. Crack stole the parts of her soul, but she didn't feed her children when she was in that place anymore. She couldn't feel them, away from her, so perhaps that was a comfort. Amy, the other lesbian there, was a large woman. She was cheeky and friendly, another one of the genuine crew in the Snake's Pit. She was always clean and well presented, made an effort, but it was crack that captured her too. Amy would help me learn lines for my shows, especially when I played the shoemaker's wife in one. Sarah and Amy came to one of my shows at the college. I was studying community theatre. I could see them in the front row, special brew in black bags, sipping during my performance. My mum didn't come. This was my family for now. And that's where I met my first girlfriend, Sexy P. But she deserves her own section. She got me through that time. Sexy girls playing in the night. I had chosen to make this course. This hostel was my university of street life. But I chose college, thankfully, and I enjoyed the drama of theatre. Escaped from the drama of the building where I had to lay my head down. Not quite a home, but a place to move through, a stopgap. Yet when it's all you have, it becomes your world. Thank you. I was thinking of maybe dropping a freestyle before the end, getting some vibes on you. You got some beats or something, Nutty? By the way, this is one of my best friends in the world, Nutty B, yeah? This guy, like, literally, we met, like, maybe more than 10 years ago. And just being at this guy's house, yeah, making tunes with him, like, just talking with him, conversating with him, sharing heart, like, brotherhood, sisterhood, whatever. I don't think I would have got through my 20s without this guy. So I just want a big round of applause to Nutty P. I love you, bro. I love you, man. And yeah, hip hop changed my life. So when I moved to my second hostel after that hostel, it was a lot better. And I met this girl called Sasha there, and she's a dancer. And she was in a show called Into the Hoods. And she was the main dancer in that. She was my really good friend. And we moved to a flat together after that. And she encouraged me to go out and rap in all these places. So I just go by myself, little hippie white girl, jump in these big hip hop things. The mic's going round. I'd just be waiting for the mic. I used to just grab it, spit a few bars. The mic gets taken, it's gone. And many, many years of taking stages and taking this thing out to earn and gain respect. I had to create respect. When I first started running events, I ran it in a lesbian venue called the Candy Bar that I used to work at. Yeah. So like, I used to start doing my first all-female hip-hop events down there. I started trying to book a few artists, and certain guys in the scene would be like, nah, they ain't coming, it's a lesbian thing, they're Muslims, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward 5 years on, Lyrically Challenged is running, they all wanted to jump on that stage. So it's like people can cuss you, try and do whatever, yeah. But if you create your own platform and manifest your own platform, no one can say nothing. Like we're in an era, yeah, where we can carve our own scenes. We can write our own books and have them published. We can create our own nights. We can have our own venues, and we can all support each other. And it's like the monetary value is the thing that spins it round and inspires it. That's the real revolution. The revolution is in our pocket. Because if we keep giving Sainsbury's money every day, the local shop man is going to be hungry. But Sainsbury's is feeding everyone £8 an hour, and J Sainsbury's or whoever the fuck them CEOs are getting rich. So it's kind of like, where are we choosing to put it this Christmas? Are we going to be buying from local artists? Are we going to be buying from people who are making their own produce? Or are we going to be buying the same top from ASOS, giving that same fat cat more dough? Like, the power is in our hands, innit? The revolution is up to us. We have to decide if we want to make it happen or not. Do you know what I'm saying? All right, P. Drop a beat. Hey. So freestyling is something I learned to do with Nutty as well. Yo. He said it's mind over matter, so I tried to come here and talk about something that matters. I don't drop bars just for claps, I drop it here for the beats and the hi-hat, cause rap saved my life, what can I say? Didn't do it here just for a pay, it's my mind right here and my heart and my soul. Pick up your spirit right now, regain control. Oh, it's years since we've been on the dole, but listen up now, never sell my soul. I be picking up rhymes, picking up mics and picking up vibes. Every time you know we're bringing it in live tonight, so put your hands up if you're feeling the vibe. Are you feeling alive? I know I had you chilling with the books and the verse, but now we're picking it up, now we ain't leaving in the hearse. I never curse, I'm always bigging up heads. You know that's what was said. Bigging up Nutty P in the venue, we be picking up live. Yo, this is how we do, and Fisky too. Thank you for the vibes, creating this space, you know that it's live. And I'm back in Camden, the place where I grew up, the place from like 12 years old I started doing drugs. It's the place too where I got clean, cleansed my spirit, now I'm reaching for my dreams. Aiming past the stars, into the sky, nothing's gonna stop me, I'll keep flying high like what? We keep going, we won't stop. Nutty's on the bars, you know we make the beat drop, what? I keep bringing it in time. Lyric after lyric, say rhyme after rhyme. Gonna wrap it up there, spin back the beat. Gonna finish it up, yo, maybe you would feel your feet. Angel on the mic and the verse, bringing you full love from my heart, yeah. Thank you guys. If you want a book, come chat to me. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for giving me this space to express so much of who I am. I really appreciate and thank you for listening to them deep stories and holding that space. Thank you. You are beautiful. Blessings.